Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Les saluda su amigo Antonio Cisneros y sean todos ustedes bienvenidos una vez más aquí a su canal. En esta ocasión, más que una entrevista, les voy a presentar lo que parece ser una charla amena. Una charla amena entre David Wilcock, Goode, y esta ocasión se les une Michael Tellinger. Michael Tellinger es una persona que viene hablando sobre un sistema económico diferente. Es un tipo de filosofía, Ubuntu se llama, Ubuntu, algo así como contribuismo, muy importante lo que él va a exponer aquí, van a verlo. Esta persona realmente es sudafricano, él da conferencias casi en todo el mundo, es arqueólogo. Él ha descubierto muchísimas cosas muy importantes, habla de cómo alguien nos ha impuesto esto del sistema monetario. En esta ocasión inclusive van a tocar ese tema, van a tocar el tema de estos Illuminati, de como ellos le llaman, gobierno secreto, mafias, bueno, le llaman de todas maneras. También hablan de una revelación masiva de datos, de estos como los de Snowden, que también tienen otros hackers, e inclusive la Alianza del Programa Espacial Secreto, este consejo, ellos también tienen muchos datos para exponer al público. Ellos aquí hablan como esta tipo de alianza quieren bajar la tecnología que ellos usan en el programa espacial secreto, una tecnología parecida a lo que ellos llaman la edad de oro de Star Trek. Ahí ellos se los van a explicar mejor. Tocan el tema también del sistema monetario del colapso, de que muy posiblemente se dé. Tocan también del genocidio que quiere hacer esta gente, lo toman por un momento. Habla de estos 22 programas genéticos que tienen unas razas extraterrestres con nosotros los seres humanos. Y bueno, al último Michael Tellinger realmente nos explica lo que es esta filosofía Ubuntu. Es importante, amigos, realmente tomen lo bueno, van a ver que les va a encantar lo que Tom les va a explicar. Explica cómo realmente este planeta es abundante para todos. Realmente sí, con este tipo de filosofías que es muy antigua, ya lo usaban otros humanos antes. No tenemos necesidad de dinero, no tenemos necesidad de nada. Es algo parecido como el contribuismo, no comunismo, no confundan, no, es muy diferente. Es algo que mejor, él lo explica mil veces mejor que yo. Pero como les digo, toca muy profundo, es una charla, porque para mí no es una entrevista, más bien parece una charla, me gustó, es nueva, es apenas de la semana pasada. Así que se las presento con mucho gusto, es subtitulada y bueno, a ponerle atención, tomen lo bueno. Ya saben, yo aquí nunca impongo a nadie en que crea, lo que cada quien tiene su libre albedrío, pero tiene sentido mucho de las cosas que ellos hablan. Inclusive ya más adelante hablaré más de Michael Tellinger, les tengo preparado, estuve presente en una conferencia. Me encantó una historia que cuenta de los años de 1900 allá en Sudáfrica, cuando fue la guerra del Imperio Británico, y que fue por el oro de los Kruger realmente, y de unas desapariciones que hubo allá medio extrañas, pero se los tengo preparado para después. Está genial. Lo estoy transcribiendo todavía, ese sí lo tengo que transcribir completamente en inglés, de inglés a español. Y bueno, vamos, para no esperar más, vamos a esta charla que tienen estos tres que están en este plato. Vamos a ver.
Disclosure. I'm your host, David Wilcock, and we have a special guest for this episode, none other than Michael Tellinger. He is well known, if you don't already know this, coming out of South Africa with some very interesting research into ancient ruins that are quite extensive and very unique to the South African area. There's some really interesting stuff in Zimbabwe and other places, and it's all woven together into his research, which has now led him into a very unique view about the economy. And if you're also a regular on the show, you know Goode, coming out of the secret space program, has been in contact with an alliance that is a part of this breakaway civilization out in space. The Alliance is saying that what they want is to release technology that will utterly transform life on Earth as we know it and bring us directly into a Star Trek type golden age that is predicted in 35 different ancient cultures around the world, as revealed by Giorgio de Santillana and Hertha von Dechend in their epic classic Hamlet's Mill, which was then paraphrased and renewed by Graham Hancock, who's one of the real inspirations for all of our work. So I wanted to bring Michael Tellinger onto the show in order to help explain this economic system that he has devised, which has taken a keen interest to by the Space Program Alliance. So first what we're going to do is talk to Corey about the Alliance, what is the Alliance, define the Alliance, and how this thread that Michael Tellinger has brought into the picture weaves into this greater tapestry of disclosure that we're bringing out. So Michael, thanks for being here.
Thank you, David. Good to be here.
All right. And Corey, thanks for being here too.
Thank you.
So let's just, Corey, start briefly with, if somebody happens to be watching this episode for the first time, they're looking at what they might call the Illuminati or the New World Order, and they're saying, this is some impossible thing. Nobody's ever going to be able to stand up to these guys. What is the Alliance exactly? And do they have a chance to ever bring down the cabal, or is this just a Pyrrhic quest that will never succeed?
They definitely have more than a fair chance. The Alliance is made up of two main factions. There's the Earth Alliance, which is made up of different societies, secret type of societies, and groups that work loosely together, and they're working to overthrow the current financial system and the system that is run by what I've described as the secret Earth government and their syndicates. And many of these syndicates are very much into the occult, and they're the groups that people call the Illuminati. We call them what they are, syndicates. We take the mystique out of it, the mystery.
Syndicate like the mafia, like an organized crime.
We call them what they are.
Exactly.
And there are different agendas for the Earth Alliance and the Secret Space Program Alliance. The Secret Space Program Alliance has slowly built up. Started with certain members of the different secret space program groups breaking apart from the leadership and forming a kind of a loose-knit alliance to where they formed what they call the Secret Space Program Alliance Council. And
in case somebody doesn't know what the secret space program is, what kind of technology are we talking about? What do these folks have?
Well, there are different secret space programs that there's a wide variety of technologies. They have some that are just 20 to 50 years ahead of what we see flying around that the Air Force and NASA is using, and then they have aspects like the interplanetary corporate conglomerate that is basically all of the corporations that have come together, pooled their resources, and created a vast infrastructure in our solar system.
And these corporations are the military defense contractors, primarily?
Primarily, but it branches out into many others. So
faster than light travel, Stargate-type technologies, particle beam, pulse laser weapon type stuff.
They've moved even past that, but yes.
So this is highly advanced technology that's all been developed under the umbrella of extremely high security classification.
Yes. And the Secret Space Program Alliance, their major goal is to bring what they call full disclosure to the population of the Earth, And full disclosure is not just, there are aliens, we've been lying to you for the last 80, 90 years. Okay, move on with your lives. The full disclosure event will be a data dump, you know, from Edward Snowden's information and a few of these other major hacks that we've heard just a little bit about. All of this information has been decrypted and collated, handed over to the Earth Alliance and to the Secret Space Program Alliance, ready for a massive data dump at a certain point. And what they want to do is reveal all the crimes against humanity that these syndicates have done in order to prevent not just the fact that there are ETs, non-terrestrials out there, but to cover up technologies that would have changed our lives in a dramatic way and would have collapsed their corporate regimes and their Babylonian money magic system, slave system over the earth that they use to control everybody on the surface.
Okay, let's just get really real for a second. What the hell are these people thinking? Why do they want to kill people? Why do they want to depopulate the planet by billions? This is what makes people unable to actually see that this is real. They just can't wrap their head around what the hell are these people doing?
Not all of these syndicates have this same agenda. I've described that there is a super federation of non-terrestrials that have been here for eons,
okay,
that have been involved in 22 different parallel but competing programs that have been manipulating Earth humanity. And it's been on a genetic, social, and spiritual level. And they themselves are a part of this grand experiment, they call it. Now, there are some more benevolent non-terrestrial groups that have I guess, an agenda that we would consider positive.
Sure.
And there are some that have a very genetic purist type of agenda, that people that fall outside of a certain small realm, they want to cleanse off of the earth and start anew with a small group. But it is not all of these syndicates that are pushing for this depopulation. It just happens to be some of the ones that are the most powerful, and some of the ones that are like the Committee of 200 that I've talked about, that have a lot of power and run the financial system. And
you have an advantage that Michael and I don't have, which is that you've met with a number of these people. You've looked them in the eye, and you've heard their arguments about why they think billions of people should be killed. The people who believe in that, how could they want that? What is their agenda? Why do they want so many people to die?
It's not that much different than the Nazi type of ideology. So many different of these non-terrestrial groups have a genetic purist kind of ideology, or a genetic purist part of their experiment. That's why a lot of them, going back thousands of years, they did not want intertribal marriages or mixing of tribes. They would have one tribe, if it came across another tribe, wipe out the entire bloodline of another tribe. This is something that's gone back a long time. These are programs that compete with each other, and they in more recent times they've come together and found a way to work alongside each other a little bit better. But there are the syndicate groups, the occultic syndicate groups here on the planet that are humans, that feel that they come from a bloodline that is non-terrestrial, and that we are all from a polluted, worthless bloodline, and that we should be wiped.
So when they use terms like useless eaters and sheeple, do they feel that they could control the planet better if there were fewer people here? Is that part of it?
Part of it, yes, and they put a lot of platitudes in that it would put the Earth more in balance with nature.
Humans are bad for the environment.
Right, when they know full well that we have the technologies that if the secret space program wants to bring down technologies such as replicators that would feed people free energy, healing technologies that work off of light and sound frequency, a whole lot of different technologies that will improve the lives of people and help them live in balance with the planet. And this could be brought down, implemented with all of humanity immediately. And they don't want to bring it to the Americans and the British and then let it trickle down to the other members of the planet. They want to bring it to everyone on the planet all at the same time.
All right, let's start blending why we got Michael into the discussion here. And I'm going to ask you one question, and I want you to answer it, and then we'll open it up. Some of the most controversial stuff that you and I have talked about in the show is the idea that we don't really need a financial system once these types of technologies come out. You've often dropped the term that the Space Program Alliance uses, the Babylonian money magic system. What's so bad about money? How is the financial system a tool for control by these secret Earth government syndicates that you've been describing? How do they use money against us?
When you have money, you have debt. When you have debt, you have servitude and slavery. You have people that are the haves lending money to the have-nots. And the have-nots are the ones that end up carrying all of the burden. And that's the way that it's been set up to work from the very beginning. And we've been so highly programmed for many thousands of years to believe that you have to have this paper folded up in your pocket. People have heard me talk and they freak out. You want to take away our money. You want to move to a cashless society. Well, this is crazy. What are we going to do without money? How can you have a society without money? And they can't fathom it. They're so highly programmed, they cannot fathom it.
But how is what you're saying not communism? Aren't you going to have a group of oligarchs that absorb all the wealth and then everybody gets paid the same and therefore nobody has any incentive to do anything?
Or you're using the word paid. That would denote that there's money involved. Mm-hmm. When everyone has everything that they need. I mean, if you really want to have money or gold, the replicators have the ability, you could synthesize a little bit of gold, or synthesize an old 20th century $5 or $100 bill and carry that around in your pocket if that makes you feel more secure. But you're not going to need it, because everything's going to be based off of bartering skills, people sharing their knowledge and abilities with each other as a community, and everyone's going to have what they need through these technologies. You're not going to need to work 9 to 5 to pay an electricity bill, free energy. I mean, you're not going to need to have to buy groceries. Replicator technology.
Hold on right there. These people in space, these Space Program Alliance people, they mentioned to you, before you even knew the name, Michael Tellinger and Ubuntu contributionism. What were they saying? Why did these people who live up in space, who may not even ever come to Earth, why do they care about this guy right here? What was the interest that they had in, if they have all these technologies, how does what he did have anything to do with that?
To be clear, I had heard of Michael Tellinger and some of his work in ancient civilizations and some of the studies that he had done, and I found a lot of that very interesting. I had no idea of the political movement thing that he was doing, until it was brought up in a situation to where Lieutenant Colonel Gonzalez was there, and they were talking about Michael Tellinger in the UBUNTU, did I say it right?
That's it, well done.
Thank you. Movement, and how they said that this is the wave of the future, and that this, after there was going to be a catalyst event, there was going to be a full disclosure event, and after the monetary system is gone and capitalism, all the isms are gone, this is going to be the type of system that we're going to move into and use as we're a transitional civilization moving to be like a Star Trek civilization, and as we're integrating and learning all of these new technologies exist and integrating them into our lives. And they said that they've been following this movement with great interest. And I thought it was very interesting, and I don't know what Mr. Tellinger has to say about that.
Well, Michael, let's dive right into it here. Assume for the moment that whoever's watching this doesn't know you, hasn't seen your work before. Could you give us a short summary of Ubuntu contributionism and what that is and how it factors into our lives today?
Thanks, David. Sure, and there is an ism here, but it's a very different ism from all the other isms that we've ever heard of, and that's the contributionism part of Ubuntu. First of all, Ubuntu is an African word. It's an ancient philosophy of sharing and caring. I've defined it as unity within community. And the often used definition of it is, I am who I am because of who we all are. So this is an ancient African philosophy which is shared by all ancient cultures around the world. They have their own names for it and their own expressions for it, but it ultimately comes down to the same philosophy of unity consciousness, sharing and caring for each other. So the Ubuntu movement was started with sharing knowledge, as Corey said, and information about the origins of money and how money is being used to control and enslave humanity, and then at the same time present a solution for the system. Because I think that the days of fear-mongering and just talking about how bad it is are over. We need to start presenting a solution. So that's really what this movement is all about. Presenting a solution that resonates with people's, not only in their minds, but in their hearts specifically. And it seems to be that for some reason I've become the messenger of this. This is not my system. It's not my message. I'm just the messenger. And it's interesting for me to hear that it's being spoken about in other areas that I wasn't even aware of. Because I've been getting some interesting emails from people around the world mentioning things to me about prophecy and all this, and how Ubuntu features into it, and how the work that we're doing features into it. And it's taken me by surprise, but I don't really want to go down that route. It's just, interesting to know. Let's carry on with the task at hand. There's a lot of work to be done, and we need to, what we're doing is providing an alternative solution. The system we've had for the last 6,000, 12,000 years has not worked. It's been a system that was designed to enslave us, using what Corey calls a Babylonian magic money system. Money is a tool of enslavement. That's all it is supposed to do. And I remind people all the time about the fact that it's not about the money. It's about the use of money as a tool of control. Those that control the money can create as much money as they want, because there's nothing backing it. It's just money out of thin air. So it's about keeping the control of the supply of money on the planet, and that's how you control the planet.
Even in the biblical book of Genesis, it sets up right at the beginning, explaining that the money system is this evil force.
Yeah.
If you actually read it carefully, it's right in there.
Yeah.
If we had Jordan Maxwell right here to talk to us, one of the things he said that was so shocking was that these numbers that you see on the Federal Reserve note, the US dollar, he calls them stock numbers. Yeah. And he says every person in America is given 10 different stock numbers. And you worked at the Federal Reserve, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And that these numbers on the money, each person has a certain number, a certain quantity of money issued to them. I guess 3.4 million was, I think, one of the numbers I heard. so that when you see any given piece of money, it's somebody's soul. The number actually corresponds to somebody's soul. So when they're stealing the money,
That's amazing.
They want to be stealing our souls.
Yeah.
How do you see this? What is the black magic of the financial system? What are they doing?
You've just described it. You know, the money system is somehow has been imbued in ancient times with some sort of a black magic component, because look what it's done to our planet. Look what it's done to humanity. People go crazy. As Corey said up front, you know, when you say to people, we're going to remove money from the system, they start going crazy. Because they imagine we're going to take their money away. That's not what we say. We say we're going to create a new system that doesn't work with money. So nobody needs money. And this is where the whole introduction to a world transitioning from a world that's driven by money and greed and corporate structure and control and scarcity, move from the money-driven system to a system that's driven by people and their passion for life. That's what the whole Ubuntu movement is about. And slowly but surely introducing people to the fact that we don't need money, because money does nothing. People do everything. It's about the people. We grow the food, we plant the seeds, we create the mathematical equations and develop the free energy devices, and we do everything. Money does nothing. It just keeps getting in the way of people expressing their passion and living out beautiful lives.
Well, if we had Darth Cheney sitting right here, he was going to talk off the cuff.
Yeah.
He's going to say, as soon as you take away people's need to earn money, they're going to drink beer and they're going to sit and watch TV all day.
Yeah, that's
in
a capitalist-driven system. We're changing the system, changing a system where people live out their lives and express their talents that they're born with, where they don't have to worry about money. What you mentioned there, David, is one of the what I call the 13 frequently asked questions, and out of 11 years of work of talking and exploring a new way, a new social structure that works without money, I've filtered it down to 13 frequently asked questions. It's incredible.
Okay.
In a world with money, we have an insurmountable number of problems, and our governments and our banking financial guys can't solve the problems we have with all the money in the world. And in a proposed world without money, over a period of 11 years since 2005, it's filtered down to 13 problems we have to solve in a world without money to live in paradise.
My parents bought the house that I lived in and grew up in starting in 1973 for $26,000. Now that's a joke.
Yeah, exactly.
The U.S. dollar has decreased in value by 96% in the 100 years since the foundation of the Federal Reserve System.
Well, there you've just mentioned the big scam, the reserve banks, the central banks of the world. Now, for people that aren't aware of this, all the central banks of the world are private companies. They control our governments. It's like our governments are indebted to these private companies, and they use all of us as their slaves. So part of the teaching and the sharing of information with the Ubuntu movement and the Ubuntu party is first telling people about the origins of money, as Corey calls it, the Babylonian magic money system, where money first appears.
Yeah.
That it was maliciously introduced, that it's not the consequence of thousands of years of barter and trade. It is a maliciously introduced tool of enslavement that gives the people the illusion and the belief that they are free, but they still have to work for money so that they can live and pay their taxes. So if you change this whole system, and this is why I do the Ubuntu workshops, where after a day or 2 days of an Ubuntu workshop, going through all these processes, it's turned out now that it's become like a group therapy session for people. And this is the last thing I expected, because people are suddenly feeling the sense of release and relief. Oh my God, we don't need money. I see what you mean. And they not only understand it, they understand the origins of it, the reason how and why it was introduced, and how it was twisted as a tool of enslavement, and what we can do to get ourselves out of it. And with this comes the good news. This is where people really start getting excited, when they see how simple it is, how we have, just by undoing some of the programming and the conditioning and the brainwashing that we've had to go through, that we've gone through for thousands of years, and especially the last 100 years or so with the current education system that was set up to do all this damage to us, right? To turn us into a future labor force. Once people realize that how simple it is to get ourselves out of this mess, that's when you see the deep realization.
So, Michael, don't you think that let's say the dreaded global economic collapse occurred. The sun still rises, the sun still sets, there's tides, there's rain, there's crops that are going to grow. We have what we need here.
Exactly.
If these people are saying all the money is gone, where the F did it go? Right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. The resources are here. We're living in a very abundant world.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the things that you need to remind people of many times, and sometimes over and over again, that we live on a planet of abundance. We've been taught, we have now been led to believe that we live in a planet of scarcity through the corporate hierarchical structure. And this is all to do with the principle and this philosophy has been shoved into our heads since the earliest days, is that competition is what we need to have progress. You know, that competition drives progress, competition drives innovation, competition drives people's desires to succeed and all that. That is the poison pill, sugar-coated poison pill that we've been given, falsely believing that that's how things work. No, no, no. Competition creates scarcity. Competition makes corporations hide things so they can benefit from the knowledge and information, the technology, while the rest of the humanity suffers. Competition prevents new technology from being released, petroleum, electricity, cures for disease. You understand, well, this is why competition is so bad. So the whole thing with Ubuntu and contributionism is just switching that one little thing around, turning competition into cooperation and collaboration.
If you think about where the New World Order's view of their own high level of evolution comes from, we see Charles Darwin's father was a 33rd degree Mason. Darwinism says that the most effective killer is the most highly evolved, the survival of the fittest. Yet if you look at the eukaryotic model of the cell, we have little microorganisms that at some point in our distant past came together, formed a membrane around themselves. You be the ribosomes, you be the chromosomes, we over here are going to do the nucleus. And they had to work together and pool the resources to get a better result.
Exactly.
It's the nature of life itself, is to create individual cells that communicate and form organ systems, and the organs come together and they form a body.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mind. This is part of the Ubuntu teachings, if you can call it that, is to tell people that only out of unity will you ever attain infinite diversity. We have to come together as a group of living, breathing human beings and realize that together, out of our united efforts, we can then diversify into an infinite number of resonant, fractal activities, as long as we resonate together at the core center. From that resonance center, we can diversify into an infinite number of fractals, because we still resonate together. The moment we have dissonance, we have disease, and we have fractalization, and we have breaking up and death, right, and destruction.
If you built a computer that had a CPU that was in competition with the memory.
Exactly. So this is what I often show in my workshops, and that is, think of your body and the trillions of cells in your body that all work together for the benefit of the community of cells, your body. They're not fighting each other.
Symbiosis.
Symbiosis, cooperation, working together. And even if the trillions of some of the cells group together into specialized cells like your liver or your heart or your brain, they're still working together for the greater good of the whole body, the whole community of cells. We got to start seeing ourselves like this, and seeing ourselves and our families as the extension of the cells in our body, and our communities the extension of our families.
I can fully see why those in the Secret Space Program Alliance Council have been following this. And also it goes back to the Blue Avian message that they've delivered. And there's been a lot of people out there that have been under the misunderstanding that this is a new ET race, savior race that are coming to save humanity. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are sitting back waiting for some light forces or some group to come and save humanity.
Yeah.
And you know, the Sphere Alliance, they're out there to to help even the playing field, but they've made it very clear that, like the Hopi said, we are the salvation that we've been waiting for. That we are responsible for clearing up our own mess, to coming up with the solutions, to defeating the Illuminati, cabal, secret earth government groups, coming up with a new system, implementing the new system, and starting over with a new transitional society, and that it is up to all of us to stop pointing out all of our differences, all the things that make us different, all of the things that keep us apart, and start focusing on all the things that we have that are similar, that will bring us into a symbiotic relationship. And, you know, the idea of forgiving other people, becoming forgiving of ourselves. There's a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen between tribes and nations. We need to move past that and start working on projects like the one you're talking about in detail that will help us come together and solve these problems ourselves after doing the inner work and come up with these solutions ourselves instead of waiting for it to be done for us, because it will never happen otherwise.
Again, you took the words right out of my mouth. I always tell people in my workshops, in the Ubuntu workshops, that we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the wave of the new age. And we can't sit on our backsides and wait for somebody to come and save us. And this is always a problem. People are waiting for some sort of a knight in shining armor, some external savior. We have everything encoded in our DNA. We are co-creators of our own reality. So let's create this own reality. Let's focus on a positive outcome for humanity. Let's stop fear-mongering. Let's stop talking about the dark, negative stuff. Well, we can talk about it, but as a platform of knowledge and information that we then use to launch ourselves into this new utopian world. And I like to use the word utopian specifically because utopian is a good word. It's not a bad word. Oh, it's just a utopian idea. Yeah, I like utopian. It's a good word, right? Let's use utopian more. And I just want to also add, just because we mentioned the word like barter and all that stuff, I just want to firstly say that the whole Ubuntu contributionism philosophy is not a philosophy about creating self-sustaining communities. It's creating communities of abundance, because we live on a planet of abundance. One apple tree creates 1,000 or thousands of apple trees, not one other apple tree, right? And this is what we are capable of. Each one of us is capable of creating infinite abundance if we are left to create and express our natural talents that we're born with. So it's creating communities of abundance and not bartering or trading or replacing the money system with any form of exchange. As long as you got any kind of form of exchange, it is open to exploitation. And somebody will find a way to use that against the people for their own benefit.
All right, well, I'm sorry to end it right now. Well, it's just getting good, but that's all the time we have for in this particular episode. We're going to be back next time, continuing this fascinating discussion with the Insider's Insider, Corey Goode, and with Michael Tellinger, the face behind the Ubuntu movement. As always, we want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
No comunismo, no confundan, no, es muy diferente. Es algo que mejor, él lo explica mucho, 1000 veces mejor que yo. Pero, como les digo, toca muy profundo, es una charla, porque para mí no es una entrevista, más bien parece una charla, me gustó, es nueva, es apenas de la semana pasada. Así que se las presento con mucho gusto, es subtitulada y bueno, a ponerle atención, tomen lo bueno. Ya saben, yo aquí nunca impongo a nadie en que crea lo que cada quien tiene su libre albedrío, pero tiene sentido mucho de las cosas que ellos hablan. Inclusive ya más adelante hablaré más de Michael Tellinger, les tengo preparado, estuve presente en una conferencia Me encantó una historia que cuenta de los años de 1900 allá en Sudáfrica, cuando fue la guerra del Imperio Británico, y que fue por el oro de los Kruger realmente, y de unas desapariciones que hubo allá medio extrañas, pero se los tengo preparado para después. Está genial. Lo estoy transcribiendo todavía, ese sí lo tengo que transcribir completamente en inglés, perdón, de inglés a español. Y bueno, vamos, para no esperar más, vamos a esta charla que tienen estos tres que están en este plato. Vamos a ver.
Disclosure. I'm your host, David Wilcock, and we have a special guest for this episode, none other than Michael Tellinger. He is well known, if you don't already know this, coming out of South Africa with some very interesting research into ancient ruins that are quite extensive and very unique to the South African area. There's some really interesting stuff in Zimbabwe and other places, and it's all woven together into his research, which has now led him into a very unique view about the economy. And if you're also...
Se los van a explicar mejor. Tocan el tema también del sistema monetario del colapso, de que muy posiblemente se dé. Tocan también bueno, del genocidio que quiere hacer esta gente, lo toman por un momento. Habla de estos 22 programas genéticos que tienen unas razas extraterrestres con nosotros, los seres humanos. Y bueno, al último Michael Tellinger realmente nos explica lo que es esta filosofía Ubuntu. Es importante, amigos, realmente tomen lo bueno, van a ver que les va a encantar lo que Tom les va a explicar. Explica cómo realmente este planeta es abundante para todos. Realmente si con este tipo de filosofías, que es muy antigua, ya lo usaban otros humanos antes, no tenemos necesidad de dinero, no tenemos necesidad de nada. Es algo parecido como el contribuismo. Él ha descubierto muchísimas cosas muy importantes. Habla de cómo alguien nos ha impuesto esto del sistema monetario. En esta ocasión inclusive van a tocar ese tema, van a tocar el tema de estos Illuminati, de como ellos le llaman, gobierno secreto, mafias, bueno, le llaman de todas maneras. También hablan de una revelación masiva de datos, de estos como los de Snowden, que también tienen otros hackers, e inclusive la alianza del programa espacial secreto, este consejo, ellos también tienen muchos datos para exponer al público. Ellos aquí hablan como esta tipo de alianza quieren bajar la tecnología que ellos usan en el programa espacial secreto, una tecnología parecida a lo que ellos llaman la edad de oro de Star Trek. Ahí ellos... Hola, ¿qué tal, amigos? Les saluda su amigo Antonio Cisneros y sean todos ustedes bienvenidos una vez más aquí a su canal. En esta ocasión, más que una entrevista, les voy a presentar lo que parece ser una charla amena. Una charla amena entre David Wilcock, Goode, y esta ocasión se les une Michael Tellinger. Michael Tellinger es una persona que viene hablando sobre un sistema económico diferente. Es un tipo de filosofía, Ubuntu se llama, Ubuntu, algo así como contribuismo, muy importante lo que él va a exponer aquí, van a verlo. Esta persona realmente es sudafricano, él da conferencias casi en todo el mundo, es arqueólogo,